Hello YouTube, De-bodgery here. Welcome to EV Components Review. You know, you hear me talk about vest tool and vest and things like that a lot. So let me show you me actually doing some vest stuff here. So this is revolving around the Tronic 750 and a TP128 in my previous video where I showed the motor stuttering. And a lot of people gave me some good ideas to try. And one person pointed out the potential for the wrong observer being set. So anyway, here is vest tool connected up on my laptop, and let me try to hold this steady while I do this over my own shoulder while I'm doing this handheld. Alright, so anyway, if you go into FOC and you go to advanced, and then you see down here you've got observer type right there. It is now set to FOC Observer MX Lemming. And, well, it was by default, and this is what Tronic puts on the 750, set to the Ortega, I think it was original, it might have been Lambda, I forget which one it was. But anyway, it was set to one of those two. I think it was Ortega original, and that's all that needed to be changed. That one little setting right there. And it was a-okay, save it, and we're in business. So anyway, the whole reason for the motor stuttering was simply a controller setup issue. Whenever people complain they can't get their vest controller working or whatever, yeah, I've got to say that it's 9 times, probably 99 times out of 100, just your setup. You know, it's not a bad controller, it's your level of understanding, and well, that one caught me. I'll just straight up admit it, that I was not expecting the observer to be set to Ortega, because MX Lemming is the default on most things, with the exception of this Tronic 750, and they picked Ortega for whatever reason. Don't really care, but yeah, that's why it caught me off. Nothing really special about it, just a setup problem. And someone pointed it out to me, an easy fix. All right, so, yeah, there you go. You're looking at vest tool and how it impacted me. Just a no-brainer. That's all there was to it. So if you guys remember, I did a teardown video for the Tronic 750 a good little while back. And I did that on a repair unit, which is this exact controller, this exact board that's in here. And, well, I have now repaired it. It is now fully operational. One of the things that Tronic has changed is their electrolytic caps have gotten larger. So when you buy one, you're not going to get one with cutouts in the shell. This is my adaptation on this, so don't look at this and say, oh, that looks terrible. And how is that waterproof? Blah, blah, blah. This is literally Richard's adaptation to make the larger caps fit in the older shell that I got. That's all that is. You do get these exact same caps that are now 220 microfarad, 250 volt caps. They're larger. Obviously, they don't fit inside the shell like they did before. So yeah, the new shells, they account for these larger caps, so you don't get them like this. Just making that super clear. This is me having machined out the openings in here to accommodate the larger caps. That's all it is. Don't look at this and say, oh my God, that looks terrible. Or it's not waterproof or whatever. That's not how you get them from Tronic. It isn't. All right, so the 3-phase wires coming out of these controllers, they terminate in an 8mm bullet, which is here. And so being that I am connecting that up to these TP128s, which I'll talk about what I'm doing with that in a second, I have to adapt the 8mm bullets to the ring terminals that are on the motor phases. So I've made these little adapters for that purpose. As a ring terminal underneath that electrical tape and 8mm bullet up here on this end. So anyway, adapting that to make the TP128 just connect right up. The other thing is this is my go-to connector for just about everything. These are waterproof. They have a gland on either end. They have silicone O-rings inside. This is a 6-pin version, which is perfect for like Halls and a temp sensor. Anyway, I've been using these connectors. You can find them on eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, whatever, for a couple dollars a piece. They're very, very reliable. they have a threaded cap on them that you can thread onto the other half and lock the two of them together so that they are completely locked together, don't come apart. They're very, very reliable, and they're plastic, so if they sit up against something that's conductive, they're not going to short. So, everything about these connectors I really like. I have never had one ever go bad. They can handle like 5 or 10 amps each per pin, so they're pretty reliable for stuff like this, and they're not too big. Anyway, this is my go-to connector, so of course I put one on the 750 for what I will eventually use this controller for, but for bench testing, well, I needed to adapt it to what is on these TP128 motors, aka this connector. So, yeah, I made a little adapter to go to there. So, a little bit of setup, a controller repair before I could start doing TP128 testing. I also did a couple other things just to literally cover all the bases. I had a De-bodgery X, so figured I'd stick one of those on there. This is a bench throttle that I've built for bench testing. I don't know, 2019 or something like that. So throttle, braking, regen throttle. I've got these two buttons on these two throttles, and so this one is for reverse, that one's for cruise, and then I also have a 3-speed switch on the side. So that pretty much covers 99.9% of all the scenarios that I've ever run across for typical stuff that I would put on an EV or that most anybody would. And here it is on a bench throttle. This isn't what I actually implement on an EV exactly. It's the same kind of parts, but, this one here makes it super convenient. And of course, it goes over to an 8-pin version of one of those IP68 connectors. And then I have this cable coming out the other side of it that every single one of the wires that comes out of here is all labeled so that I can just wire everything up. And this is something else that I do. Is I put a terminal block inside the EV, so this would be inside a waterproof box so that you can't get water on it, and there would be a silicone gland around this cable to keep water out, but that way I eliminate all connectors. Everything just comes to a terminal block that's a very highly reliable terminal block, and that eliminates all those connectors like you saw me gripe about like in the G300. All right, so De-bodgery X, throttle, best tool. Let me switch that back over to something more meaningful, like there. There we go. So here's the dashboard. Anyway, and this is my setup to test all these TP128s. So in a previous video, when I got these motors, I told people, hey, if you want me to test your motor, that's 25 bucks. Ignore that one thing specifically. I am going to test all of these motors, and let me talk about why. So right here, I have found 2 that have problems out of the 40 that I got. So this motor here, it's physically okay, looks okay. But when I spun it up, because one of the people that bought one asked me to, do some testing on their motor before they shipped it. So this one here, I spun it up and it makes a ticking noise. It's probably something bonehead stupid like a zip tie that didn't get cut off, and it's just simply rubbing on the armature. But until I know, that motor is not leaving my house flat out. I'm not that guy. I don't do that kind of stuff. This one here has a physical problem with it. It's been damaged. And I'm assuming this happened at the factory. So you can see it's got a pretty good sized gouge in there. It's got a bent fin and some scuffing on the ano. So I bought 10 myself. This motor works just fine. It just kind of looks rough. Anyway, I'm not going to ship that one to anybody. I'll just keep that for me. I'm not worried about it, but there's no way in hell I'm going to send you a motor that is buggered right out of the box. So, yeah, every single one of these motors, they're going to get put on the bench, at least spun up for 5 minutes, and see that they sound right, run right, things like that. Because, well, I don't like stuff going badly. Anyway, so here is that motor. Training up. Here's a De-bodgery X doing its business. Here is Vestool showing its business. And that's basically full RPMs at 82 volts. And then when I press the throttle more, then I start applying field weakening. So anyway, there it is with field waiting. So every single motor is at least getting that level of testing to make sure it behaves as it should. So essentially what I'm telling you here is people that have been asking me, so where's our motors going to ship? I know you've got them. I have found two that I don't like. So I am going to test every single one of them because there's no way in hell I'm shipping you a motor that I don't know works like it should. So everybody please be patient. I am literally testing all 40 motors just like you see on this one here to make sure they are all behaving like I expect them to. And yeah, motors will be shipping soon. Once I know that they all work like this, then I will also be doing shaft machining, and people want rewinds, and I've had a lot of response to all that kind of stuff. So that stuff's coming. I just want to make sure they all behave like they should before I start shipping anybody anything. Anyway, I hope that all helps. Please be patient. I am just careful. I'm anally retentive, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, don't want to send you stuff that I am not happy with before it walks out the door.